And I think it's important in internal discussions such as these that we treat each other fairly, with the courtesy that we'd extend to our friends or family. At times when Israel needs as many friends as it can get, the last thing that we need is people within our own community starting to turn against each other when it comes to Israel. But I think that's precisely what's happening. Where once Israel united the community, more and more now it divides. Every week, battles are being pitched Jew on Jew. And unfortunately, my opponent tonight is one of the ones launching the salvos. See, for Jonathan, there's only one way of doing Israel, his way. In his own words, the right response is to pack the hate meetings, heckle, and give out our flyers which tell the truth. Those organisations that believe that there are other, perhaps more sophisticated ways to stand up for Israel, are often subjected to a torrent of abuse from Jonathan. Now, UJS has been on the receiving end of this from Jonathan for a number of years. In his mind, we are weak-livered liberals, cowering in the face of anti-Semites and Israel bashers. And he doesn't just mean me, he means you as well. Every year he sends emails and writes letters telling anyone who'll listen that he knows best and he knows how to support Israel on campus. Forget actually asking students what the campus atmosphere is like. He knows best, and he's been whipping up the hysteria, telling the JC and telling your parents exactly what it's like. He's even tried to undermine our own fundraising efforts by spreading lies and misinformation about our activities. His intention was to take money away from UJS and ultimately away from JSOCs and Jewish students, just because he doesn't agree with the way that we do Israel. Now, this is a man who's called for a boycott of The Guardian, who wears crash helmets for peaceful pro-Israel demonstrations, who's happy to demonstrate side by side with members of the EDL Jewish division. He lied about that last one, saying that there was a picture of him with EDL that was photoshopped. But after a legal intervention, he was forced to admit that the photo was completely genuine. Now, anti-Zionists rejoice when Jonathan attends one of their meetings. They know he'll scream and shout and make a nuisance of himself. They know he will make them look like the sensible ones, and pro-Israel activists look like the crazy ones. In fact, one prominent anti-Zionist started a Defend Jonathan Hoffman campaign to demonstrate their approval for his ultimately self-defeating antics. But despite all this, I still think Jonathan plays a valuable role in our community. His energy, his enthusiasm for challenging anti-Israel rhetoric is admirable. He is no armchair Zionist. He gets off his arse and he does stuff. Not always the right stuff, not always stuff that I agree with, but he does stuff all the same. But unfortunately, as I said before, Jonathan hasn't always had a similar tolerance to those in the Jewish community he disagrees with. In fact, not only has he questioned the pro-Israel credentials of some within the community, he's also questioned their Jewishness. Now, helpfully, Jonathan has written a little quiz online to help us determine who is and isn't Jewish in his mind. He says, to the Jewish Israel bashers, please confirm the following. Number one, examples of active participation in synagogue services over the past 6 months. Fluency in reading, speaking Hebrew. Participation in rabbinical studies during the past 6 months. Positions held within the Jewish community. Extent of kashrut observance. I could go on. Seemingly, the only ones who passed the test qualify as Jewish in Jonathan's mind. The rest are somehow sub-Jewish, unable to pass comment on Israel. Who needs the best in when you've got Jonathan? I believe that as a Jewish community, if we spent more time tackling those who are motivated by a hatred of Israel than we do tearing shreds out of each other, with whom we have minor tactical disagreements, but who have a genuine love for Israel, then we might get somewhere. But for Jonathan, nuance is a foreign country. Instead, the tactics are usually to shout about Hamas terrorism, call everyone a liar, and disrupt meetings. Now, if I thought these tactics work, I would be organising a training programme for Jewish students on how to shout and heckle. But it clearly isn't going to get us anywhere. It only serves to make us look as bad as the anti-Israel brigade, entrench divisions, and contribute to a negative campus atmosphere for Jewish students. Instead, we must have a genuine engagement with those who are critical of Israel. Talking with them, not shouting at them. Otherwise, what's the point of Israel advocacy? Either we are seeking to change people's perspectives, or we're just talking to ourselves. So, in Jonathan's mind, you can forget the quiet work we've been doing with student unions and NUS for decades, which has ensured that NUS is the only national trade union which doesn't have a boycott Israel policy. You can forget the shadow cabinet ministers we forged relationships with since they were students. You can forget all the fascist and racist groups with no platform from campuses. And you can forget all the work we've been doing directly with government on tackling hate speech in our universities. Because apparently all you need is an Israel flag, a copy of the Hamas Charter, and a crash helmet, apparently. Now my appeal tonight, if I'm to make one, is not to say that Jonathan is wrong and I am right. That the view that there's only one way to do Israel is not my view, it's Jonathan's view. My appeal, instead, is to employ the right tactics at the right time in the right place. The way we speak to young centre-left students from North London, who's maybe critical of Israel, will of course be different to the way we speak to a gun-toting Republican in the Bible Belt. Smart Israel campaigners recognise that a diverse approach is a successful approach. And this diversity must also extend to our own community. We need a big tent, not an ever-shrinking sleeping bag. We must be able to discuss Israel without the likes of Jonathan accusing us of being anti-Zionist, or worse, not even Jewish.
I never said.
I'm not calling for the end of a vibrant dialogue on Israel, I'm calling for the beginning of it. And I'm not calling for us to abandon our loud and active support for Israel. As Jews, as Zionists, and as right-minded human beings, we must challenge those who seek to destroy the Jewish state. And I share Jonathan's view that the Jewish community hasn't been loud enough or good enough at challenging grassroots anti-Israel activity. But when we engage in all this, we must remember to treat others as we would like to be treated ourselves. When we complain about the vile antics of Palestine societies, we must then aspire to the highest standards ourselves. Honesty, politeness, and willing to listen as well as talk. The chief rabbi has called this the lost culture of civility, and I believe we need to get it back. It is in that spirit that I end my remarks and extend a hand of friendship to Jonathan and ask him to work with Jewish students in standing up for Israel. Thank you.